All right, imagine this. Construction costs are already sky high. Supply chains are still recovering from the last few years. Okay, you don't have to imagine this is what's happening right now. And new tariffs are coming down the pipeline. So the question is, are tariffs about to drive up home prices even more? Dave Ramsey has some thoughts, and you know I do too. Let's break it down.
The real estate market is beginning to thaw as the snow thaws. I mean, we told you in November after the election that probably what would happen would not be instantaneous and that gradually the market would begin to heal as springtime came around. So we are seeing in the real estate market an uptick in activity. We are seeing interest rates down very slightly, just a little bit. And no big dramatic anything in the real estate world. There's no sudden supply. There's still a shortage. There's no huge drop in interest rates instantaneous, which didn't expect to have happen. I didn't anyway. So the real estate market is starting to move again. And so the thing we've told you for 30 years is still true, that when it comes to buying a house, a home for your family, real estate's a great investment when bought properly and at the right time in your plan.
Okay, I couldn't agree more. The biggest factor in your success is you, not tariffs, not rates, not inventory, you. Are you debt-free? Do you have a strong down payment? Can you handle a 15-year fixed without breaking your budget? That's the foundation. Everything else, rates, material costs, even tariffs, are market noise.
Not listening. Not listening.
But if you're financially ready, you can make the move when it's right for you.
And what happens at your house, in other words, what happens in your house is more important than what happens in the White House. And so Donald Trump's not going to buy you a house. Joe Biden didn't buy you a house. It's not their job. Either one of them. And it's your job to buy a house after you get out of debt, have an emergency fund, and when you can afford the payment on a fourth of your take-home pay on a 15-year fixed rate. And that's very doable once you get your crap together. But, there's people worried about tariffs driving construction costs up. There's people thinking that the government's going to get in the housing business and drive supply up, which will bring prices down. Not going to happen. Tariffs aren't going to drive construction costs up, not appreciably.
Okay, I get what Dave's trying to say here. He's coming from a place of long-term optimism, which is great, but let's get real for a second.
Just got real.
Tariffs can and do increase material costs, and in construction, that's a big deal. We're talking about lumber, steel, aluminum, copper, all core building materials. The average new build already costs significantly more than it did just a few years ago, not because of greed, but because of material and labor inflation.
Dang.
When you introduce tariffs on imported materials, it shrinks supply and raises costs. Builders don't just eat that cost, they pass it on to the buyer.
Pricing increased by single digits. Yeah, I know we as a company don't tend to go to the homeowner and even bring it up. With these current tariffs and the threat of these tariffs, I just don't see how will we be able to get around that.
If you're already struggling to afford a home, this just pushes the goalposts further out.
The White House has a lot less effect on the housing market than you think they do.
They kind of do, but basically the White House has a lot less effect on the housing market than you think they do, okay? Yes and no. Dave's absolutely right that your financial decisions matter more than who's sitting in the Oval Office. But when a president imposes tariffs that directly impact building material costs, or when federal policies slow down supply chains or pressures the Fed, that's not just background noise. That shapes the market. When construction materials go up in cost, even a little, it triggers a domino effect. Builders scale back, inventory tightens, competition increases, prices go up. Tariffs may not cause a market crash, but they quietly raise the floor. And when affordability is already at crisis levels in places like California, Texas, and Florida, any increase is a big deal.
No, but the effect they do have is, and they are starting to have that effect, is to make people believe again so the economy starts moving. And when people are hopeful, they purchase things, they invest.
They get off the sidelines.
When they are hopeful. And if you believe, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, if you believe the economy is going to get better, you will make moves that make the economy better. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And housing is one of the elements of that. And I do think that's going to happen. And I'm not going to give President Trump the credit for having grown the economy. I'm going to say the American public grew the economy. But it is, if he gave them hope and caused them to do that with, cutting spending, and which they're obviously doing to pretty rapidly and pretty wildly. It's kind of fun to watch. For a guy who likes to cut spending, I mean, I'm in hog heaven, right? So, that's a good thing. And I know it's your grandmother's program or whatever they cut, and some of you are pissed, but I really don't care. Cut spending.
What did he say?
And you've been spending more than you make, like some kind of drunken congressman. So that's wonderful. And if that kind of thing gives people hope, and if he puts pressure on the Fed and causes interest rates to go down, that gives you hope and causes you to go into the marketplace, the real estate market's going to take off. So I am predicting a healthy, good, functioning real estate market again by fall. I don't think it's going to be a boom or bust thing like it was after COVID. It was crazy. But I think it's going to get moving again, and it's been very stagnant. What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely been crawling, and I think it's going to take longer than we all want it to. And so for those folks who've been sitting on the sidelines waiting for something drastic to happen, quit waiting. If you're ready to buy a house, like you said, don't time the market, time your own financial life and go, now's the right time for us to buy.
Here's what smart buyers and pros should be keeping an eye on. First, the federal trade news. You want to stay tuned into tariffs on building goods specifically, especially lumber and steel. You want to watch builder confidence reports. So if the tariffs are in place long term, you want to watch for builder slowdowns or project delays. You also want to watch material cost trends. Even a 5% cost increase in key materials can change home pricing structures in the short term. Here are my final thoughts on this. Dave makes some great points, but let's not downplay the real world impact of tariffs on housing. If you're in the market to buy or build, understanding these economic levers isn't just theory, it's strategy. So I'd love to know what you think. Are tariffs a non-issue, like Dave says, or do you see them impacting your local market already? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's get into it. If this breakdown helped, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one right here on The Breakdown.